Hi class! Today we're going to be talking about autism spectrum disorders. By the end of your learning, I want you to be able to discuss what the essential symptoms of autism spectrum disorder are and why we actually consider this a spectrum rather than discrete categories of diagnoses. We'll talk a little bit about comorbidity with autism and how common it is. We're going to dive a little bit into how do we actually determine how much that prevalence changes based on things like gender, ethnicity, and SES. Then we're going to get into risk factors for the disorder and how we can really start seeing some of the really early deficits really early on that help to explain some of the emergence of autism symptoms when children are a little bit older. Lastly, we'll talk about some evidence-based treatments, and we are not going to talk about number 7, but we will be talking about evidence-based treatments that are available. So let's talk about the two main things that we have to have for a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorders based on the DSM-5. First of which are impairments in social communication. And this can be demonstrated by different things such as social emotional reciprocity, so being able to reciprocate or have a back and forth in social interactions. Some difficulties with nonverbal communication, so things like eye contact, and I'll show you some videos of that. And lastly, difficulties developing or maintaining relationships. So let's look at those videos on nonverbal communication. So these videos are taken from the Autism Navigator from the University of Florida. So let's watch what a typically developing child might look like at 12 months of age.
It's a walking robot. Walk, 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 walk. See, that's right, it's walking. Oh, let's do it again. Oh, I see him. He's walking.
So as you saw there was a lot of really good eye contact that this infant was showing, that they were looking back from the toy to the adult. They also smiled and made a gesture like giving it to the person. This is a child at 18 months of age who was later diagnosed with autism. And notice the lack of emotional responsiveness.
Pop, 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 pop. Sam's playing with a penguin. Pop, 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 pop. Pop, pop, pop. Pop, 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 pop. Don't break them. Feet. Feet. Pop, pop, pop. Where's Penguin's nose? Nose. Pop, pop, pop. And do it again. Let's see. Here he comes. Here he comes. Get him. Here you go. He's walking. You walking? He's walking fast. He's walking fast. You gonna give him back to Mama?
So in this video, you see a lot less eye contact that the child is making either with mom or with the experimenter, and that actually there's no eye contact whatsoever, and even that mild amount of frustration that he was starting to show, he's not communicating his emotional needs to his parent. So this is some of that nonverbal communication that may be impaired in a child who later goes on to develop autism. So the second set of criteria to have a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorders is having these repetitive behaviors, activities, or interests. So they might be repetitive motor movements, such as flapping your hands, which is relatively common. So this can also be insistence on sameness. So for example, needing everything to be lined up in a certain way, or always having your sandwiches cut into a triangle rather than squares. Having fixated interest, so I worked with a child whose fixated interest was on cows. So literally any game that we were playing together or having a conversation together, he would somehow or another bring in cows. When describing his day, he would describe the cows that were on his way home. And it was really hard to get him off of that topic. Lastly are things like repetitive speech, such as echolalia. So basically echoing what somebody else says. So let's watch a video. So let's watch this video on a young boy and how he uses a lot of repetitive speech.
Trucks. That's a dump truck.
What's that?
That's an ambulance.
What's that? What's that?
I just said what that was.
What's that? What's that? So,
Ambulance,
so,
car, truck.
what's that?
Oh, outside. You heard it. That was a truck outside. There goes the truck. There goes that truck.
What's that? What's that?
It's another big truck.
What's that?
You tell me.
What's that?
That's the paraphrase that I'm concerned
What's
about.
that?
You tell me. If it's truly wanting to know,
What's that?
or if it's just a labeling is what it is kind of thing.
So,
Wheels on the bus go round and round. Bus,
what's that?
truck,
What's that?
big truck.
So in this video, you may have noticed that he was using "what's that" to try to engage in some sort of social communication. And he actually is showing a lot more eye contact, as well as different things like trying to get joint attention, so pointing. However, the way he's trying to communicate is not effective, right? It's not back and forth. Instead, it's a repetitive speech trying to have that engagement, but not being able to move forward. So that was this boy at 1 year of age, and here he is at 4 years of age.
All kinds of things. Look, there's a superhero
What is in
and a
here?
wrestler, and these are some of their things. There's their pet dinosaur,
What is this?
and that's a girl superhero.
What is this? What is this?
I don't know, what do you think it is?
I don't know.
You know what? I think it goes with this. Should I fix it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do.
So what you saw in this little clip is using that same type of speech in order to try to get that communication. And you could see this little child going like, I actually know what this is, so I can't ask that question. Instead, I need to move on and move forward into something else. So it's a really interesting speech pattern that this child is showing, and that it's really showing this kind of repetitive speech.